Guru Sahib Jiyo. Ek oankar Satnam Karta Purkh Nirbhau Nirvair Akal Murat Ajuni Sapang Gur Prasad Jap Ad Sach Jugad Sach Happy Sach Nanak hosi pi sach. Tu hi hai mat pita guru, tu hi hai pokhanhar gosaiya. Tero iman artan hai, tero hi aas parosa kahaiya. Nimane ko maan, nitane ko taan, nithave ko thav, tu hi sab gaya. पाव परो परमेश्वर तो है का बारंबार तुझा बल जैया पाव परो परमेश्वर तो है का बारंबार तुझा बल जैया मूक उच्चरा शास्त्र खट पिंग गिरन चढ़ जाए अंध लखा बदरो सुना जो काल कृपा कराए अंध लखा बदरो सुना जो काल कृपा कराए. वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा, वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह. So Sanskrit today I'll be speaking in English for the ease of understanding, and the question for this week is how can we stop being controlled by the mind? So we've been doing a Larivar Katha. We've started a new Lari of Salok Mahalla Nava. We started it last week. We went through the first Salok. So Larivar means continuous, which means that every week we'll be exploring this beautiful Bani blessed to us by Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj. So as I mentioned, we started with the explanation of the Bani, the meanings of the Panktya last week. And before that, we went through the background, the Uttanaka of why the Bani was written and to whom. So I'll just give a quick recap on last week, because as I mentioned, a lari is something that flows, it's continuous. So when we have some context of last week, then this week will be a lot easier to understand. So last week we started with Ik Oankar Sat Gur Prasad. We went through how there is only one. There is only one Brahm Sarup, and that resides in all of Akar, all of creation. But in order for us to understand and experience this one, to understand that it's the one in everything and everyone, we need Sat Gur Prasad, the Kirpa of the true Guru, the blessings of our Guru, Tan Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj, now in the form of Tan Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj. So when we come here to the Guru Kar and we do Matha Tek in front of our beautiful Guru, Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj, let's understand what we're doing. We're giving our head, we're putting our head in our Guru's feet. We're going to Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj and we're saying, take my head, take my Manamat and give me your Gurmat. And how do they do that? Through their beautiful Gurbani. That's why we put our head in front of the Gurbani, saying to Maharaj that let me use your blessings, your understanding to navigate my way through this life. And then we went into the first Salok, Gun Gobind Gayo Nahi, Janam Akar Thakin. We went through the first explanation saying that by not singing the praises of Gobind, of the protector of this world, then we are wasting away this life. Janam Akar Thakin. But we went into depth to question what does it mean to sing the praises of that one? How can we truly sing the praises? Because Maharaj is saying we're not doing so. And we concluded that it was to be present in every moment, to consciously be there in the moment and be grateful for that very moment. When we're grateful, when we're in awe, amazed by something, we say Va. Va being the first letter in the mantra WhyGuru. When we say WhyGuru, we're saying that you, Guru Sahib, are so great. And then we bring that understanding that they're so great because they are in everything. Everything that makes us go va, it's that one, that Akal Purakh that resides within it, which makes it so beautiful. And then we did the second art, and we put the Vishram in a different place. We said Gun Gobind Gayo, the Vishram, the pause, Nahi Janame Akal Tikin, saying that if we are truly singing the praises, if we are present in the moment and we're grateful, we're speaking from a place of gratitude, we're saying, wow, Guru Sahib, we're praising our Guru in each and every breath, each and every moment, Fir nahi janame akar tikin, then we're not wasting away this life. Then we're actually living, we're not just surviving. Then Maharaj goes to the next Pangti, Kaho Nanak harpa jamana. Here Maharaj is speaking directly to the mind. And I'm going to emphasize this a lot today because it's in every salok. Every second Pangti in this Bani refers to the mind. It's Maharaj speaking directly to our mind. So Guru Sahib has seen the importance of mentioning it not once or twice, but enough times throughout the Bani to tell us that we must speak to our mind. Because we said it last week, our mind is our biggest enemy. It's only our mind who's stopping us. And we'll go through that today. So Maharaj says, Kaho Nanak harpa jamana. They're telling us, speak to your mind, Hey mere mana. What do we have to do? Tell your mind, Harida bhajan karo. Tell your mind that we're here to paj, to meditate, to remember, to be grateful. To who? Hari. Hari, another name of Akal Purakh WhyGuru. To tell that one that we're grateful for their presence within ourselves and everyone as well. And then we might question, how do we do that? And Guru Sahib says, Jehebid Jalakal Meen. Here Guru Sahib is giving us such a beautiful example of how a fish has so much love for water. A fish can't survive without water. The minute it's taken out of that water, utarf tarf ke marta. And that's exactly what we are doing with this human body as well, as we went through last time. So, as I said, Maharaj speaks to the mind more than anything else, which means as we reflect on this Bani, we want to speak to our mind. We want to tell our mind that now we've come to the Guru Sanctuary to leave our own knowledge and understanding here, to leave our man-mat here and take the Guru's mat, the Guru's wisdom, the Guru's knowledge that they're blessing us with. Last week we said that the mind is the biggest enemy, and I'm pretty sure everybody agreed with me. But today I want to go into how. How is the mind our biggest enemy, and why is it our biggest enemy? And then the question on the poster was, how can we stop being controlled by this mind? But in order to ask the how, first I need to make sure we all agree with each other and say, are we truly being controlled by the mind? Do we all think we're being controlled by our minds? And that's where Guru Sahib starts to explain to us. They explain to us in Good Bani when they say, Man jeeta, jag jeet. They say, if you win over your mind, you've basically won over the world. Conquer your mind and you'll conquer the whole world. This is a really great statement, but it makes so much sense because the world is only what we perceive it to be. The world is only what we know. My world could be different from your world because it's all about perspective. Something that's good to me could be bad to you, whereas something that's bad to you could be amazing to me. As I said, it's all about perception. So here Guru Sahib is saying that recognize the strength of this mind, man jeeta, jag jeet. If we win over this mind, conquer this mind that we know is controlling us, we'll then conquer the world as we know it. So this is a confirmation that yes, the mind is controlling us. For those of us who were in denial or we didn't have that knowledge or awareness that we are being controlled, Guru Sahib is telling us very clearly that we have to conquer our mind, which means that currently it's controlling us. And now let's look at how. So the first thing, the one that I guess most of us face problems with, is the noise that this mind creates. And I'm very deliberate to use the word noise, because it is just noise. The mind is always there to tell you very negative things. You're not good enough. You can't do it. It's always putting you down. And that's only the mind making noise. It's the mind's opinion, the mind's comments. It's not you. You're not telling yourself that you're not good enough, because why would you do that? It's your mind making a lot of noise in order to distract you. But then we need to ask ourselves that question, that are we just going to agree with the mind? If my mind has told me today, you're not good enough, you can't sit here and you can't do this gatha, do I just agree with my mind? Do I just say, yeah, I can't do it? Let somebody else do it. There's so many people better than me. No. Why should I agree with the mind when I know that's not my true self? I then have to think of, where does this come from? We all have to think, where does this come from? These comments, these opinions that we're not good enough or we can't do it, where do they come from? Who said them? And when we take a statement like, you're not good enough, it's a comparison. According to who? As good as who? We're comparing ourselves to an external factor, or it's somebody else's opinion. Someone has said you're not good enough. But what are they comparing you to? In order to not be good enough, you have to be compared to something. And as I said, that's all noise, because it's external. Comparison is external. You see somebody else and you feel they're better than you, you're seeing something. It's all external. It's nothing from within that's saying you're not good enough. There could be something within saying, I know you can do better, but those are two different statements. The first one is no gratitude. It's just saying straight up, you're not good enough. You can't do it. It's pulling you down and it's keeping you down. You can do better is recognizing that you've put in that effort, you've attempted to do something, which is gratitude. Like, I did it, I tried my best. And then telling yourself, but I can still do better. That's motivation, that's inspiration, that's not negative. Let's recognize the difference. As I said, this comparison is what's negative because it comes from external. So all the noise that this mind makes through all these opinions and all these comments, it all comes from an external source. And we have 5 external sources, our 5 senses. Shabad, Sparsha, Rasa, Rupa, Gandha. Our hearing, touch, taste, sight, and smell. Our 5 senses as we know them. They're taking all the information in. They're the ones taking information from the outside and using it to compare to yourself. As I said, it's not coming from within. And then we might ask that, how do we know it's just noise and it's not the truth? How do I know that it's just my mind's empty chatter and it's not the actual truth? Because that one that sits inside of us, that Brahm Saru, it will never bring negativity into our life. It will never pull you down. Because that one, that Saru, is described as Sat, Chit, Anand. Sat meaning true, Chit coming from Chetan, which means alive, so it's the one keeping you alive, that force. Anand, bliss, eternal bliss, not something temporary. If we say that that one is bliss, how can that one be negativity at the same time? It's not possible. In order for it to be bliss and happiness and all the good stuff, it can't be anything negative. And that's how you know that any negative thing that comes up to your mind is just external noise. It's just empty chatter. It's not the truth. And here Maharaj starts this beautiful second Salok of the Bani, Salok Mahalla Nava, and they say, Bikhe Nusyo ka he rachyo, Nemakh na ho he udas. So let's break it into 2 so we can understand it better. That's the first Pankti, and it starts with Bikhe Nusyo ka he rachyo. This is Maharaj asking us a question. Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj is speaking to us directly, and they're asking us, that's a question, it's not a statement. They're asking us. And what are they asking us? So the word bikhin on the screen, it might say sin and corruption, but it actually stems from a word called vishay. And vishay simply means our 5 senses, the ones we've gone through. Shabad, Sparsha, Rasa, Rupa, Gandha. And then syo ka he rachyo. Rachyo is to be engrossed or soaked up in something. You know how, let's say you're going to put color to your dastar and you say, Ekdam rang rach gaya si, it soaked in completely. So Maharaj is asking us that why are you soaked up in your senses? Bikhin, syo ka he rachyo. Why are you so engrossed? Why are you so absorbed in these 5 senses? They were given to us to navigate our way through this life. But what have we done? We've let them control us. And the way the mind controls us is through these senses. Without these senses, the mind has no power. Maharaj is asking us that question. And let's bring it back to that statement of you're not good enough. It stemmed from the eyes. The eyes saw something. The eyes saw someone. It could have been a video. It could have been a person. It could have been anything that your eyes saw. And it was that sight, that seeing, that fed back to your brain, to your mind, to then say, you can't do what he does. You can't do what she does. It was because you saw them. Let's say you hear somebody, it's your ears. If you hear somebody doing something or somebody saying something, it's your ears that will feed back again to your mind, to then tell you, now compare yourself to that person. But why do we have to do that? Everybody was made with their own gun. Everybody was made as a beautiful flower. Flowers exist in one garden, but they're different. You've got roses, you've got lilies, you've got sunflowers. All these beautiful flowers exist within one garden, but they all have their own different ways of showing their beauty. They have their own colors, their own fragrances. The same way, we all exist on this one place, this one planet, this one space right now, but we're all different. We're all a different flower with our own guna meaning virtues, things that we're good at, things that Maharaj has blessed us to be able to do, and our own beauty. We're all beautiful in our own ways. So why then do we allow the mind to tell us, hey, let's compare, let's do this thing, let's bring ourselves down? No. We need to remember that comparison takes us away from gratitude, and gratitude is what connects us to the One. So essentially, it's that comparison that we get stuck in that's taking us away from recognizing the One. Try and understand that the only thing stopping you from connecting with God is now this comparison. God being the one inside you, that Ek Jyot, that Brahm Sarup, whatever's stopping you is comparison. Because comparison then makes you ungrateful. It leads to you saying, not recognizing your gift. Recognize your gift and then aim to do better, but start by recognizing it. Now we might ask that how are we engrossed in the senses? They were given to us, it's part of this body. Why does Maharaj say Rajyo? Why is Maharaj saying we're engrossed? Because we can't do anything without our five senses. When you have a lack of a sense, the other senses heighten, and that's just scientific. If you're blind, your other senses will be stronger in order to help you navigate your way. So Maharaj has given it to us for us to go through this world easily, for us to navigate our way through this world and live in this world on a day-to-day basis. But the problem is, they always want more. These senses of ours, they never get satisfied. They always want more and more and more. And here we have Bhai Gurdas Ji in their Vara, and they explain to us very beautifully. They say, Akhi vekh na rajya, bahurang tamase. They tell us that your akkha rajadeniya. Rajya is to be satisfied. They're never satisfied. Akhi vekh na rajya. By looking, continuously looking, they're never satisfied. What do they look at? Bahurang tamase. Ranga, all these different colors of the world, tamashe, these plays, these dramas. What we call life, Maharaj calls a play. Maharaj calls a drama. Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj Aap, they say, Dekhan ayo jagat tamasha. I've come here to this world to watch this tamasha, this play. What we think is so real, it's our life, like it's my everything. Maharaj says it's just a play. And that's exactly what your eyes are watching. Bahurang tamashe. They're never satisfied. Your eyes always want more. And an example of that is binge watching. We'll watch one movie or we'll watch one episode of a series, but it's never enough. We want more and more and more. We end up binge watching, binge scrolling on social media, Instagram, TikTok. I'm not saying it's wrong to do these things. There should be a limit. Your phone has the option of screen time for a reason, because we know the nature of our eyes, the nature of our senses is to never be satisfied. But that doesn't mean that we can't control them. They don't have to control us. If you say, I'm going to watch one episode, stick to it. Tell your mind, I've given you that one, now that's enough. We're not going to go to 2, 3, 4, stay up the whole night, watch the whole series. No. Limit yourself. Because that way you're taking control of your senses. You're taking control of your mind, not the other way around, the way it is now. It's the mind and the senses controlling us. Why are we binge watching, binge scrolling? Why are we in all of this? Because it's a stimulation. Our mind, our senses constantly need stimulation because it's a distraction. Any form of stimulation is a distraction. But the real question is, what is it distracting you from? Sometimes we say, oh, it takes me away from the thoughts because I have so many, I'm an overthinker, I go into like a negative pattern. We come up with all these answers. What is it truly distracting you from? The one inside you. The one is an internal thing. And if you notice, everything we're speaking about is external. Why is everything so eager to push you out? Your mind, your senses, everything is taking you out. Why? Because it doesn't want you to go inside. Because everything lies within you. Everything. Everything we're looking for. Everything we're looking for externally, because we think we're going to find it on the outside, is actually on the inside. So we need to question, what are we distracting ourselves from? Is it really our thoughts? Or is it something a lot bigger, a lot deeper, a lot more profound, which will reveal so much more to us? I'm just going to share a Sakhi on what we feed our senses, because that's essentially what we do. By binge watching and scrolling and going through everything that we do, we're feeding our eyes, we're feeding our senses. And there's a beautiful book called Sikh Gurus. I recommend everybody to check it out because it's amazing. And it's about Sant Baba Harnam Singh Ji Rampur Khere Wale. And they're Mahapurush, they're a Sant. They're an elevated being who knew a lot more than life than we do. So it's amazing to check it out because it's about them. It's lessons that we can learn from them. And here in one chapter, they share a story of someone who was brought to them. Somebody was brought to them, but they were deaf and dumb, so they couldn't speak and they couldn't hear. And when they were brought to Babaji, Babaji gave them one instruction. They said, the only thing I want you to do is sit next to me and jap a naam, say WhyGuru. I know you can't speak and you can't hear, but somehow Mahapurush managed to explain to them that I just want you to say WhyGuru. And obviously because they were deaf and dumb, they couldn't even say that properly, but they were trying. They would make all sorts of different noises as an attempt to say WhyGuru. And they would do this all the time. All day they would sit with Babaji and that's all they would do. Because they were told that's all you have to do. You don't have to do anything else. And over time, over not a very long time, if not a couple of weeks, maybe a month, they started doing this Naam Simran in their sleep. It was one night when they were laying on their bed, and the Singhs who were sleeping in the same room as them, they were like, we can hear Simran, but we don't know where it's coming from. Nobody's sitting and actually jumping Naam, nobody's sat down, or nobody's actually doing it with their mouth. No one's saying WhyGuru, but we can hear it, and it just won't stop. And the closer they went to the Singh, the one who was deaf and dumb, they could hear it even more and more. And Maharaj in Gurbani says, Gurmukhi rom rom harte aava. That with each and every pore on our body, our rom is our hairs, our pores. That's why we keep our case. They say with each and every pore, with each and every case on your body, Gurmukhi rom rom harte aava. Kenu te onde rom sade Hari Akal Purakh WhyGuru. With each and every hair on our body, we have the ability to remember that one, to do that Naam Simran with our body. And that's exactly what happened to this Singh. Because he would jap Naam all day, and he couldn't hear, he couldn't speak, he wasn't interacting with anybody, he wasn't saying anything apart from WhyGuru, he wasn't listening to anything. Eventually, out of his pores, out of his body, WhyGuru jap started coming out. And then the Singhs took him to Babaji. And they said, Babaji, it's coming out of him. He's not even trying. He's sleeping, but still he's jumping now. And Babaji goes, because he does his abhyas all day. He doesn't feed his eyes, his ears, his nose, his mouth with anything else. All these senses that we have, he doesn't listen to anything else. He doesn't speak anything apart from WhyGuru. All he does is attach his concentration, his attention to that one. Jot Swarup inside him, to understand who he truly is. Sat Cheta Anand. And at night, Odo bhi Anand Manda. Even at night, he's in that bliss. And that's why it's coming out of his body. It's being radiated. But then, this same thing was exposed to TV. At that time, television was a big deal. So for us today, it's our phones and all these other gadgets that we have. But for them then, it was the television. And remember, he can't hear. He can only see. So he sat down to watch TV. And now he doesn't want to do a bayas anymore. He doesn't want to jap naam anymore. He goes, I think he had been given a mala. He gave that back. Because now his attention was in the television. I want to see these fancy pictures. I want to see these very interesting things that's keeping my mind busy, taking me away from that one, distracting me and stopping me from connecting to my true self. And within a few days, remember, to get to the avastha of doing that simran in their sleep, it took a few weeks, almost a month. To lose the avastha, it took a few days. In a few days' time, they stopped hearing the simran at night. They go back to Babaji and they say, we can't hear it. He stopped doing it with his body. And Babaji says, because he stopped doing it during the day as well. He's let go of his mala. He's now attached to the television, which he can't hear. The reason I emphasize is because he only had one sense working at this time. His eyes were connected to the TV. His ears weren't playing the part, so he couldn't hear. He was just watching the pictures. And still, it only took a few days for him to lose all this abhyas, all this kamai, all this wealth that he had gathered in the form of Naam Simran, in the form of the Gur Mantar. He lost it within a few days. And that's a massive teaching for us today, because we're constantly surrounded by gadgets. At work, at home, we watch movies, we watch series, we're on TikTok, on social media, all of these things. And as I mentioned, it's not bad, but let's understand the effects. Let's understand what it's doing. It's taking us away from that one. And only we can do something about it. Only we can limit that screen time. Only we can choose to look at what we want to. We don't have to watch certain things. We don't have to watch movies that feel like a waste of time. So what do we take from this when it comes to our eyes? We've understood the nature of Kivekanarajya. We've understood they're never going to be satisfied. So what do we then do? How do we keep our eyes busy? Instead of wasting our time on meaningless things, like some of the things that we watch just to pass time, let's attach our eyes to Gurbani. When it comes to doing part, we'll pick up the Gutka Sahib, we'll do maybe one Bani Japji Sahib, then we'll close the Gutka Sahib and we'll say, okay, I'm tired now. I've done my part. Bahut ho gaya. At that time, we don't think akhi vekhna rajya. Odo ta rajge. We're saying, okay, we're okay, maybe we'll do that Sahib in the evening, but I'm okay, tick the box, I've done it. No, tell your mind, tell your eyes, akhi vekhna rajya. I want to look at my Guru Sarup. I want to look at those Gurmukhi Akhar. I want to look at those Penti Akhar again and again and again. I want to have darshan of Guru Sahib again and again and again. Remind yourself that Hunvi ni rajde. It's not only when it comes to TV. Let's bring that into our Sikhi as well. That we don't get tired looking at Gurbani. We don't get tired looking at Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj. Let's attach our eyes to the beautiful sarups that we have of our Gurus. These days, there's people who have done such beautiful artwork. We've got all the frescoes from ages ago in all the Gurdwara. Let's look them up. Let's attach ourselves to what we have physically. Let's look at these beautiful paintings, these beautiful pictures of our Guru. Let's connect to our Guru, because it's our Guru who's going to take us back inside to that one. The more we remind ourselves to look at our Guru Sahibs, to look at Gurbani, to look at their artifacts, we know that there's so many of Maharaj's Shastra present in India. If we just search up the pictures, or if we're fortunate enough to actually go to Hazur Sahib and other takhts and actually get darshan of Maharaj's Shastra and other artifacts like Ganga and Kesagar Sahib, let's indulge our eyes in those things. Because looking at all of that, looking at our itihas, looking at our Guru, is going to remind us, when we look at Gurbani, all the Shabads in Gurbani is going to remind you, go back inside. And that's essentially what we want to do. We want to go back inside instead of constantly being absorbed by this tamasha, this play. I'm going to say that word a lot because when we leave today, I want everybody to remember it's just a game. It's just a play. It's not the be-all or end-all. So now when we do that, we're no longer being controlled by our senses, by our eyes, because we've limited our screen time. We've decided what we want to look at, and we've decided we're not going to compare. So now it's not our mind controlling us, it's the other way around. But then Bhai Gurdas Ji goes on to tell us we've got more than one sense. We've got our ears as well. Ustat ninda kaan sun robanita hase. They tell us, what do your ears hear? Ustat, praise, nindya, slander. Ustat ninda kaan sun. This is what your ears listen to. What else do they listen to? Robanita hase. They listen to cries and they listen to laughter. Because these are the two things you'll hear. If you're in public transport, if you're at home, you'll either hear the baby crying or laughing. Same thing with us as adults. We're either crying or we're laughing. So that's all our ears hear. But let's focus on the first bit. Ustat ninda kaan sun. All our ears hear is praise and slander. But we must question, praise of who? Do we all like to hear our own praise? Yes. Do we like to hear our own slander? No. It hurts. It doesn't feel very nice. So we want to always hear our praise, but Maharaj is telling us, you are listening to Ninda. It's not optional. They're saying, Ustad Ninda Kaan Sun. It's the reality that we are listening to it. So whose? We're listening to other people's Ninda, other people's slander. And for some reason that makes us happy. We hear our own praise, we get happy. We hear someone else's Ninda, we're indulged in it. We want to be more absorbed in it. We want to contribute. We want to be a part of that conversation. The minute it's our Nindya, we want to leave. Someone says something bad to us, something we think is hurtful, we want to leave. Someone says something good about somebody else, do we always want to contribute then? Do we always want to say, yeah, that person is really good at this? A bit of a challenge, but let's tell our mind that this is what we have to do. When we're in a conversation and it's to do with someone else, let's bring the positivity into the conversation. If they're doing Nindya of somebody else, change it. Say something good about the person. If they're pumping you up too much, also tell them you don't have to. It was just all right. Let's be more real. Because what is this Ustad and Nindya doing in the way that we're doing it right now? It's feeding the ego. When we hear our praises and someone else's slander, our ego is only getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Because then it's like, I was so good, I smashed it. But that person wasn't so good that day. Did you see what he did? No, that's feeding your ego. It's not your true self. Your true self has recognized we're all one. Your achievements are my achievements. Saying something bad to you is like saying something bad to my own self. So let's work towards getting to that place, because then that's us controlling our mind, not the other way around. Maharaj in their Bani says, Paraninda Paramal Mukha Suddhi. I'll focus on this bit of the Pankti because it speaks about Nindya. Paraninda, someone else's Nindya. Para means someone else. So they've used it twice. They say Paraninda, Paramal Mukha. Paraninda, someone else's Nindya. Paramal, someone else's mal. Mal is dirt. Mukha is your mouth. And Suddhi is so beautiful because it means only. So what Guru Sahib is saying is that by doing someone else's Nindya, the only thing that we're doing, all that we're doing is putting their dirt, their mal in our own mouth. Let's understand how powerful that is. Guru Sahib has just told us that by doing someone else's Nindya, by contributing to that conversation, by listening to something bad about somebody else, we are taking that person's mal, that person's dirt, and putting it inside our mouth. And they've used the word Suddhi in the Pankti to say that that's the only thing we do when we do their Nindya. It's not like we do anything else as well. The only thing we're doing is taking away that person's dirt of whatever form and putting it in our mouth. Doesn't sound very nice, but yet we do it. When we were going through the first Pankti of the Salok, it's translated as poison. Poison comes from the word bek, which means that we're then putting that poison in our mouth. That dirt is also poison. We have the real poison, which when we put it, it kills us. But what about the slow poison? The one we're putting in our mouth and our ears every day? By listening to Nindya, by contributing to those conversations, by doing Nindya, we're feeding ourselves poison. Do we want to do that? I don't think so. I don't think anybody here consciously wants to put poison in themselves because we all know the result. So then why do we still do it? Maharaj is reminding us it all starts from our ears. In order to put it in our mouth, we have to put it in our ears first. We have to hear the Nindya in order to do it. Or as we're doing it, we need that confirmation. We need the other person to sit there and say, yeah, I think so too. Otherwise, there's nothing to bounce off. How much can you keep saying about somebody without a confirmation, without an agreement? So what does that teach us? Remove yourself from the situation. There's always a solution. If you're in a situation where you can hear Nindya, the first option was change it. Change the whole conversation. Say something good about that person. That way the people doing the Nindya will feel bad. They'll be put to shame. And they'll have no choice but to agree with the good thing that you've said. If that doesn't work, you can't say anything good, just leave. Remove yourself from that conversation. Don't agree and don't disagree. Because by you agreeing or disagreeing, you're contributing. And as we contribute, we're giving in to the mind again. We need to understand that we are in charge. It's the true self, it's you who's in charge. It's not your mind, it's not your senses. It's your true self, your Brahm Sarup, your Chetan Sarup. That is the one in charge, not your mind, which tells you it is. Here we have a pankti which is so beautiful because it's telling us how we want to do this. It's putting forth a sense of aggression. The pankti says, Nako ho kati, kano ho kati, kaat koot ka dari. It's speaking about these senses, about this maya. And they're saying, but nak to kaatta, nako ho kati, kan to kaatta, kano kati. I've cut off the nose, I've cut off the ear. Nako ho kati, kano ho kati, kaat koot ka dari. Kaat ke, I've thrown it away. That's what we're here to tell our mind. That let me cut off all the slander from these ears. Let me cut off the bad things coming in and going out of this mouth. Same with the nose and the eyes. They're telling us that we have that option. We can cut it off and we can throw it away. Because we are the ones in charge. It's not the mind. We just have to recognize it is a hard step to take. It is going to be a difficult journey, but we can do it. We have that strength within us. We don't have to go somewhere to find it. It's a choice that we have to make. You have to decide, do I want to stand here and allow this nindya to enter my ears? Do I want to use this very mouth to contribute to that nindya and then sit down and use the same mouth to japana? Maybe let's pick a side. Let's put our best effort. Because as we said last week, all we have to do is try. So then they go into all the other senses that we have, but they leave us with a very beautiful pankti in Pai Gurdas Diyavara, towards the end. It says, Rajana koi jeevaya. Koi bhi nahi rajya hoya. Nobody has been satisfied. Why? Kude parvase. Kude meaning false. Parvase is parosa or aas, this desire, this hope that we have. They're saying that no one is satisfied through these senses. We die, but we still want more. We're reaching the time to leave the body, but our senses still want more. Your eyes don't want to close. You don't stop smelling like immediately. Your senses always want more. Rajana koi jeevaya. Nobody is rajya hoya. Nobody is satisfied as they leave. Kure parvase. Because we have this false hope that we can be satisfied. We have this false hope within us that our senses can satisfy us. We'll sit down and eat a whole pizza, but still be hungry. But somehow we convince ourselves, no, I will be full eventually, let me have one more slice. When are we going to say that no matter how much I eat, I'm not going to be satisfied? I'll be full, but I won't be satisfied. It's a different thing. You'll finish the pizza, you'll be full, but if there's a side of cheese bites, you want a cheese bite as well. You want the fries as well. Because it's your senses. They don't get satisfied. So we have to accept that it's a false hope. And this false hope, this parvase, is what's allowing the mind to control us through our senses. So then let's get to the actual question of how do we stop our mind from controlling us? How do we take charge? Maharaj again is saying, the question that they've posed forth, why are we engrossed? Now they're telling us the reality of our situation. They're saying for the blink of an eye, a nimak is the time it takes to blink your eyes. It's less than a second, it's literally just boom, done. Nimak, even for that much time, na hohe udas. Udas here means to be detached. They're saying even for the blink of an eye, we're not detached from these senses. We're always allowing these senses to take over. So now let's go to the next question of how do we detach from these senses? Because that's ultimately what we want, but we need to know how to do it. So the first teaching that we get is that it's all temporary. Last time I said, Ros na kija, amrit pija, rahan nahi sansare. Ros na kija, don't be angry. Amrit pija, drink that amrit, naam rupi amrit, paj that naam. Rahan nahi sansare. Why? Because we're not going to stay in this world. Nothing is going to stay in this world. Everything is going to go. Everything is going to disappear at some point. When we're no longer here, what's left? We're not here, so what's left? Everything's gone. Rahan nahi sansare. Maharaj is telling us for a fact. You're not going to stay and nothing is going to stay. Now they speak about our vishay. In another Bani called Baramaha, they say, Bhikhya rang kudavaya, disan sabbe char. Again, Bhikhya is referring to our vishay, our five senses. Rang means love. So the love that we have formed through these five senses, kudavaya, kud, false. This love that we've formed through our five senses in this world is false. Bhikhya rang kudavaya. Why is it false? Disan sabbe char. Everything we can see with our eyes, disan, sabbe, everything, char. Char means ash. It means it has the potential to be turned to ash. Let's understand that on a more practical level. Everything that we see with our two eyes right now has the potential to be burnt down to ash. The vajra is wood. Everything we can burn in this room and turn it to ash, including our very own body. When we leave this body, the body is then cremated. The body itself is turned to ash. The one thing we think is permanent, the one thing we think is the whole of our life. I must care for my body, I must nurture my body. I wake up and the first thing I do is go back to my body, body, body. It's always me and my body. But because we can see it with our two eyes, it has the potential to be turned to ash, which it is in our final days. Our final moments when we are cremated, we're turned to literal ash. So Maharaj is saying this love that we formed here through our senses, our five senses that are controlling us, is false. Because it can be destroyed. Not can be, but will be. So that's the first teaching of how do we detach from these senses. Let's understand that it's temporary. It's all temporary. There's nothing that's permanent, not even our body. But what's the one thing that's permanent? It's funny because the answer is in the question. What's the one thing that's permanent? The one. That one is the only permanent thing that we know. The one inside of us, the one inside of everybody. Akal Purakh WhyGuru is the only truth, the only permanent thing in our life. But yet, we choose to detach from them and attach to everything that's false? Why don't we detach from the false, from the senses, from the mind, and attach to the truth, to the one? When we understand that everything, all of our senses are a distraction, and they're taking us away from the one, then we'll consciously make those efforts to detach from them. We'll focus more on what's permanent, because we know it's only that one that's permanent. But it's not enough for me to just say it to you. We have to make this a practice. We have to make it something that we do on a daily basis. We have to go back to our mind, speak to your mind, "Hey mere mana, listen to me." You yourself tell your mind, "Listen to me," and remind yourself it's all temporary. There's nothing permanent apart from the one. Change your senses, change your perspective. Feed your senses with good stuff instead of the negative stuff. Use the senses. Maharaj has given us these senses to navigate our way through life. All we have to do is use them, not be controlled by them. There's a difference. Currently we're controlled by them because the mind is winning. We need to start using them so that that Jotsuru wins over the mind. That one will have victory, not the mind. So now we ask how to stop being controlled by the mind. How do we stop being controlled by the mind? As we said, man jita, jag jeet. Maharaj also says, man jite, jag jitea. Same thing, man jita, jag jeeta, jate bikhya te hoye udas. It's so beautiful because in another pankti, they're telling us we win over our mind and we win over the world, but that's the only way that we'll be detached from our vishay, bikhya, from these senses. When we detach from them is how our mind starts to win, and then we've won the world. Sounds pretty simple, doable. We all know that we can take steps to do it. It's not outside of our reach. And Maharaj will tell us more about it. Maharaj will always be there to guide us. In the next pankti of the second salok, in the Bani Salok Mahalla Nava, the one we're contemplating, Maharaj says, "Kaho Nanak bhaj har mana." It sounds the same, but last week in the first salok, it was har bhaj mana. A very subtle difference. Maharaj switched over the words so that we concentrate, so that we understand it's not a repetition. Last week, Maharaj told us, "Kaho Nanak har bhaj mana." This week, Maharaj is telling us, "Kaho Nanak bhaj har mana." That means pay attention when you're reading the Bani as well. Yes, the message is the same, but we have to have our concentration there to understand it, to tell our mind that this is what we have to do. So Maharaj is again saying, speak to your mind. Bhaj harmana. Speak to your mind and tell your mind to meditate, to remember Hari Akal Purakh WhyGuru. But then we might ask why. We might say, Maharaj, you've told me this 2 weeks in a row, but may I ask why? Why do I have to do this? Maharaj says, Para na jamaki paas. They tell us what will happen when we actually attach our mind to the one, when we actually contemplate and meditate. They tell us the result. They say, as we attach our mind, Para na jamaki paas. Jamaki paas is a noose of death. Jam is another name for Yamraj or Dharamraj. Dharamraj, as we might know, is where we go to give our lekha when we leave this body. Lekha is our account of the good and the bad that we've done whilst we were here on earth. What we've done using our body, our mind, and our words. Man, bach, karam. Karam, your actions, so your body. Man, your mind, your thoughts. Bach, your bachan, your words. So it's very bleak because everything matters. Yes, I didn't punch somebody today, but in my mind I thought, I wish I could punch you. Dharamraj knows. When you go there, he's going to be like, well done, you didn't punch him, but you thought you wanted to punch him. Or you said something which felt like a punch. You said something that broke his heart, that insulted him. Why I say broke his heart is because Maharaj in Gurbani, they let us know that everybody's heart is a precious jewel. Sabna man manika. They tell us everybody's heart is a precious jewel. Don't ever break it. Guru Sahib is giving us that direct instruction. They say, Jai ko pariyandi Sikh. If you want to be a disciple of the Guru, if you want to connect to the One, then don't break anybody's heart. Because as we break hearts, we go further. 3 ways to break the heart. Physically, punch the person. Through your words, say something hurtful. That usually lasts a lot longer than the physical. A punch we can still recover. We might get a black eye, a bit of bruising. But when someone hurts you with their words, that stays with you for a really long time. Why? The words have gone in through a sense, through the ears, and gone to the mind. And the mind has now gone into that loop that we've just spoken about, the one we're working to break. But then Maharaj says that even through our thoughts, we're causing damage. So let's say we physically didn't hurt the person, we didn't hurt them through our words, but we had that thought, you're so annoying, I just want to punch you. We thought it, right? That's doing harm as well. When we go to Dharamraj, they're going to take account, lekha, of all 3, of the things that we're thinking. Let's be very mindful. Maharaj says, Khanne ho tikhi, valla ho nikki. It's a really, really hard path to walk on, and this is the reason why. Because it's easy to stop yourself physically with your hands, your feet, your mouth, but how do you stop your thoughts? In that moment of anger, how do you say no, no, no? We're not even going to let the thought arise. Because you understand your mind's not in charge. Your mind wants to let the thought arise, but your true self is saying no because I have to give lekha. Dharamraj is going to ask me, not you. You're not going to be there. The mind's not going to be there. It's just that one who's going to be there. So Jam ki paas is this noose of Dharamraj. So the noose of death that's constantly around us. But Maharaj is saying, Para na Jam ki paas. They're telling us it's not going to come to us. Why? That's a really big thing to say, that it's not going to come to us. Maharaj in another Bani says, Man kutta to jamate chutta. Man kutta. When we kutta, when we beat our own mind, that's how we escape Jam. Again, Dharamraj, this messenger who's going to take our lekha. Kutta kutta man kasavatti lava. Maharaj is telling us, you want to punch somebody? Punch your mind. Kottana ya kise nu? Apne man nu kotto. They know we have these urges. We do want to punch people. Maharaj is saying, kotte kotte man, kotte or man, beat your mind. Beat it in the ways that we've spoken. Let's have this discipline. Limit screen time. Look at things that are good for you. Don't engage in certain conversations. Don't be in certain spaces. Now let's talk about our lekha. So when we do the Mool Mantra, we say Akal Murat. Akal meaning outside of time. But what we need to understand when we do the Mool Mantra is that we're not referring to an external God sitting in the sky and saying you are outside of time. We're speaking to that one inside of us. We're speaking to that Jot Sarup, that Brahm Sarup, Sat Chit Anand, and you're telling that Sarup, Nirpa, Nirvair, telling yourself that you don't hate, you don't fear. If you're not going to scare anybody, why should you be scared? You're telling yourself that that's your true essence. You don't hate, you don't fear, you are Akal. That Ek, the one sitting inside of you, when your body remains here to turn to ash, it's that Ek that's going to go with you to Dharamraj. It's that Ek, that one that is outside of time. So remind yourself the Mool Mantra is your true essence. It's not an external God somewhere else. It's God inside you. It's who you truly are. Let the Mool Mantra speak to you and remind you that these are your virtues. These are your gun. This is what you truly are. And then work towards it. Don't scare anybody and don't be scared. Don't hold that hatred. Don't hate and they won't hate you as well. We just need to take those baby steps. Charan saran gur ek panda jaya chal, satgur kot panda aage hoy leta hai. We put in that uddam, that effort to work towards it. Maharaj will make it happen. We just have to do our bit, which is attempt, effort, try. But let's do it. So when we come to Akal, what we're saying is that we then, our true essence is beyond time. And when you have time, time is past, present, and future. But when you have Akal, it's beyond that time. So when we refer to Maharaj in Gurbani as Dakal and Pranasi, what we're saying is Do Kal, there's two times, past and the future. Because present is now. So it can't be classified as a time. We're saying Do Kal, two times, Pranasi, the destroyer. We're saying Guru Sahib, you are the destroyer of these two times, of the past and the future. Which means where you are, there is only now. That means when we connect to our true self, the one inside us, there is only now. There is no past and there is no future. It's now. And that's where we want to get to. But by saying that, we're saying that if the past doesn't exist, our lekha doesn't exist. Your lekha, your account, is of what you've done. What you thought in this minute will be accounted for later, because it then becomes the past. Everything I've said in this past hour is the past. What I'm saying now, I can't even say that, because by the time I complete the sentence, time has changed. See how fine it is? When we say that we are Akal, we are beyond time. And Maharaj is the one who destroys the other two times, which means we're only left with now. This is really important because it's going to help us understand Parana Jamaki Paas, the last bit of the Pankti, the last bit that we'll be discussing today. So as we do our Bhakti, as we do our meditation, as we focus on the one, Paj Harmana, as we Paj on Akal Purakh WhyGuru, and then Maharaj Kirpa Karan, we recognize our true self, we understand that we are Akal, then our lekha won't be an issue. Because when we go to Dharamraj, our lekha won't exist. Because Guru Sahib has destroyed the past and the future. They blessed us with the now, the time that you're there. And Dharamraj can't be like, what did you do yesterday? Because yesterday doesn't exist. You're Akal, you're outside of time. Hence, Para na Jamaki Paas. That noose of death will no longer be around your neck, because you've understood that your true self, your Brahm Sarup, is Akal. Who you truly are is only present now. Not yesterday, not tomorrow. Let's not live in the past or the future. Let's live in the now. From that now, it will take us back to what we discussed last week, and that's where the gratitude will come from. Being present in that moment will result in gratitude. So the last thing I'll share is a beautiful Pankti. Kar bande tu bandagi, jitchar kaat mein hasa ho. We're speaking again to the mind, to the banda, to the person. We say kar bande, tell your own mind. Kar bande tu bandagi. Tell your own mind you have to do this bandagi. Bandagi, again, another word for bhajan, meditation, connecting to that one from that place of gratitude. Remind yourself that we are the ones who have to do it. But then also remind yourself that we can only do it for as long as we have breath in this body. Once that breath finishes and that ek leaves the body, we won't have the chance to do that bhakti anymore. So when Maharaj is constantly in every second pankti of this whole Bani is saying Kaho Nanak Paj Halmana or Har Paj Mana, when they're constantly saying speak to your mind and remind yourself that you're here to connect back to the one, it's because Maharaj is also giving us this reminder that our breaths are running out. Every day we're losing breaths, not gaining any. They will eventually run out. So let's use this beautiful time to connect back to the one. And it might seem a bit hard-hitting, but Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj's Bani, this Salok is about detachment, udas, bairag. That's why it's hard-hitting. We have to remember that Utanaka, Maharaj wrote this Bani as the final Bani they were going to present to us, the final Bani they were going to bless us with. which means that they were not going to beat around the bush. They didn't have time to waste. They were going to give their Shahidi. And they're telling us we don't have time to waste. It's the final message Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj was going to give us as their Gur Sikh. So we need to understand that we will also have a final moment. So let's make most of the time that we have now. And Maharaj is saying all we have to do from last week is put in that effort to actually connect with the One in whatever way that we can, because we all connect differently. So I'll leave you with that, because that's all we have to do. Put in that effort and jap that naam. Meditate on that One, remembering that One is inside you, it's not external. That's the most important thing. So next week, we'll carry on with this lari, same time, and we'll go through the third and maybe the fourth salok as well. So please forgive all my mistakes, and thank you so much for listening. I hope to see you next week as well. Lekha gatahana chutiya, khen khen pulan har, baksan har baksala, nanak pare utare. WhyGuru Ji ka Khalsa, WhyGuru Ji ki Fateh.
परम सत्कार योग गुरु खालसा साध संगत जी राजवंश के फतेह बुलाओ वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह
And just listen.
Okay, I'll tell them to.
If not,
really blessed to be able to
one
sing
man
the
here,
Sunday
one man there.
and Guru
Couple of
Sikh's
days there.
teachings.
That's right. Get them to.
We're also blessed to be able to do this. Benji spoke about Guru Nanak Harapajamana, that we should vibrate upon the Shabbat, we should take the Shabbat within our hearts, and there's a wonderful opportunity to do just that. This Saturday, there's going to be a jar of Salok Mahalla Nava. There's going to be continuous recitation of the Bani that the Katha